NVIDIA is going to be reporting earnings after the bell today. Joining us right now is Michael Landsberg. Landsberg, Bennett Private Wealth Management Chief Investment Officer. And Michael, let's talk a little bit about what's happening with the markets because of all this AI concern, and then maybe what you anticipate from NVIDIA tonight. We've had a really strong earnings season, and yet you seem to see industry after industry kind of roiled by their concerns about what's going to happen with AI. How do you feel about things overall?
Yeah, Big, I think it's interesting. Anthropic is kind of at the center of that. We really don't know, where the money they're going to get to invest in all these businesses is going to come from. I think that's a little bit of a concern. And again, I don't think people really know where AI is going to ultimately fall. So I think there's some concerns. And these stocks have had such a good run. It's not hard to find a little bit of a chink in an armor when you've had stocks up 100, 150% in a short period of time. And then you've got some willing sellers to take some profits off the table. So I think at the end of the day, obviously, NVIDIA is kind of going to be the bellwether here, and hopefully straighten the ship a little bit in terms of what we can expect going forward. NVIDIA
is your largest holding, correct?
Yes.
And you started buying it in 2019. We have watched the stock take off phenomenally since then. How much conviction do you have that can continue?
I do. I mean, we bought it at the time for different reasons. Obviously, AI wasn't even really a thing. It was more about the kind of the gaming, their ability to have chips. And there was a new thing called, Bitcoin mining and crypto mining. That was kind of where they were at the center of. And obviously, it's morphed into AI. They continue to drive. I liken NVIDIA to the California gold rush with they're selling picks and shovels in Nevada, people on the way to California to find gold. Whether they find gold or not, the picks and shovel sellers are going to make money. And that's really where NVIDIA is. They're going to sell chips to anybody who wants to get in the AI space. And I think they're going to do well and continue to do well. But with that being said, obviously a lot of the ecosystem revolves around their ability to continue to deliver earnings. We think they do continue to deliver earnings, but we rebalance portfolios. I don't have, we trim our positions simply because they've run so much, because I think it's smart to keep your risk intolerant. So it's our biggest holding, but we haven't let it grow to be 15 or 20% of our portfolios.
How much is it?
It's about 6%. So, and that's our largest holding. It's underweight the S&P, but our belief is over time, we'll still do very, very well in it, but we want to expose our clients to some of the things that are not quite as risky.
Michael, what did you think of the State of the Union address last night and what it portends for the markets?
I thought if you were expecting to see kind of a reticent president tail between his legs after the Supreme Court decision, you did not get that. You got a very aggressive, confident president, probably more confrontational and combative than I remember, with calling people out, kind of why they weren't standing, and I was a little surprised with that. What I looked at, what concerns me in terms of what's going on is, I look at the oil markets, and the fact that he mentioned Iran indicates to me that there's a possibility we have a situation there. Oil's at 7 months highs. I do remember when oil rallied right before the Russia incursion into Ukraine. That's a concern that we watch. So the fact that he mentioned it, and it kind of was almost offhanded, I almost feel like he was covering his bases in case the talks don't go well. So I looked at that and said, okay, maybe there's a real chance here the oil markets may have this right.
And in terms of tariffs overall, the whole market's trying to figure out what to make of what comes next with tariffs. Are you comfortable with where things stand at the moment?
Yeah, I think, Becky, at the end of the day, earnings are what drives markets. I think the tariffs, I think what happens is I think everyone overestimated how important they were going to be last year. Obviously, the tariff tantrum we had in March, April was a big market sell-off, but the market rallied. We didn't really see tariffs affect earnings much. And I believe we're in that same environment. It's a market noise event versus actually going to affect earnings. And I think if you focus on the earnings, I think you'll be in good shape. But yeah, I would expect that we may be back in the Supreme Court with decisions about this new kind of Rule 122 that he's kind of figured out where it's come from to be able to use it.